Welcome to Lazy Reviews. Today I'll be talking about The Punisher from 1989 with Dolph Lundgren as the titular character. The reason I'll be talking about this movie today is that I actually, upon rewatching it for my video I did on Marvel's The Punisher, I realized that The Punisher from 1989 is perhaps one of the best worst movies I've seen. Or rather, it's a splendid example of a good bad movie. Because so much of it is awful, so much of it is unintentionally entertaining, and then it also has quite a few really effective scenes. So this video will be me talking about what works about the movie, what doesn't work about the movie, why it's even worth talking about, why it might be worth watching. But I'll quickly start with a very brief plot summary. Frank Castle, a former undercover police officer, him and his family are the victims of a car bomb, killing his family and presumably killing him. Fast forward 5 years, nobody has heard about Frank Castle, only that there are assumptions that he might still be alive. And the film opens up with a man being released from jail, being right away pursued by Frank Castle on a motorcycle. Frank Castle is the Punisher. And Dolph Lundgren pursues him to his house, kills everybody there, and blows up the house. And that's when we're introduced to two of our other main characters, which is the police commissioner, the police officer, his former partner in the police force. And we introduce this other character who is a police detective lady. Her and the former police colleague are now starting to piece together the puzzle and realize that Frank Castle, the Punisher, is back. Frank Castle lives in the sewers. That's how he has avoided detection all these years. And he loves being naked. He loves being grimy. He loves being oily. He loves pretending to have a beard, but it just looks like someone took a piece of charcoal and just smeared it in his face. His main goal of this film, which is to punish the man responsible for planting the car bomb, killing his family. And as he sets out to do that, unexpected trouble shows up in the form of the Yakuza, who is fighting the Italian mob to take its place in New York City. And he now has to fight both the Italian mob and the Yakuza to deal out justice, or his idea of justice, and deal out revenge for the injustice done to his family. And that is very briefly the plot. So I think, first of all, let's take the Punisher. Let's take Dolph Lundgren. His acting is really bad. There are many times where I'm laughing at just when he tries to be melancholic or lethargic or nihilistic, it just comes off as unintentionally funny.
Cut out their heart.
A long time.
He does manage to appear intimidating in the film, but he never really manages to convey any other emotions in a compelling manner.
What the fuck you call 125 murders in 5 years, huh?
Work in progress.
That is the first element that makes this a good bad movie, because it's so bad that it's actually good. The acting, upon watching this the third time, I started really liking his scenes just because I could enjoy how bad they are. He's all black, dressed in leather. He has, as I said, this stubble, but the thing is it actually develops throughout the movie, so it's not always looks as fake as it does in the beginning. Sometimes it's more believable, sometimes it looks even more fake. And part of my enjoyment is also just to see how his beard evolves throughout the movie. And what he manages to do is be intimidating, in that he is a hulking piece of meat. He is huge. He's good at fighting. He's good at shooting, he is imposing. Meaning that the action scenes we actually have with him are, generally speaking, very good. Even if his acting scenes are not that good. Then let's talk about the Italian mob. They are kind of goofy. There is this one mob boss that is more threatening than the rest, but overall they just seem a bit too goofy. They are cartoon comic villains. That means that they really don't appear to be that intimidating when put up against Frank Castle, and as such they're quite bad villains. But that's also because they take a place as second tier villains below the Yakuza. And the Yakuza in this film is actually quite brutal. It's run by this samurai lady, and she's quite intimidating when she takes over. Of course, she's a woman that can't be trusted, so the way she takes over the Italian mob is quite cool. She also decides to adopt all the children of the Italian mob, which is convenient that all the Italian mobsters, all their bosses and sub-bosses, all of them have children in the age 5 to 14, or rather more like 5 to 12. I don't know how often it happens in the real world that all mobs are headed by men between 35 and 45. Watching The Godfather and all the media, I always thought that, the Don was a bit older than that, but no, in this movie they're all, middle-aged, not even middle-aged, they're just mature men. And as such, all their children are being captured. And that is another element that really sucks about this movie. The children play a big role in it. We are getting a lot of time with them. We have Dolph Lundgren, who has to rescue them and babysit them even, and we have the children trying to fight back against the Yakuza. It's really not entertaining to watch. It's just lackluster. It's give me more of the Punisher punishing people, give me less children and shenanigans. I don't want that in my movie about someone brutally killing people trying to seek justice or retribution. I don't need young children in that movie making, slapstick comedy and trying to teach you children's morals, as, these children have to work together despite not really liking each other and despite the different ages. This is something you would see in The Goonies or something like that. This should not be in a Dolph Lundgren The Punisher film. Talking about things that should not be in a Dolph Lundgren The Punisher film, there is this British guy, this British homeless guy, that is frustratingly annoying. I don't know if he's from the comic. If he is, I don't know why they decided to put him in the comic. He's kinda supposed to be Dolph Lundgren's angel on the shoulder, while also acting as his informant. But it's again very, very goofy. The way we introduced to this guy is he's in a bar and looks completely messed up. Like he has hit rock bottom 10 years ago and just kept going. And the way he's presented is that he tries to get people to buy him drinks, and when that doesn't help, he leaves the bar and sees this bottle of whiskey on this small remote control truck. And he starts pursuing the truck like it's some cartoon, like it's some, like that money bill on a piece of string you see in pulled off in cartoons and in some hidden camera comedy show. And that's how the Punisher leads him over to where he's hiding in a corner. And it's established they have a relationship. So why was this necessary? And this bothers my mind. And yes, they rely on each other, but Dolph Lundgren does threaten him. He does talk down to him. It's obvious that Dolph Lundgren doesn't really care about this person, so why do they help each other? Because Dolph Lundgren occasionally gives him whiskey? He also sometimes seems to be living with him in the sewers. Why would he do that? And he speaks in this very Shakespearean way that makes it even more annoying. Like, it tries to be more artistic, more profound than it really is. This is a stupid action film with terrible acting and terrible plot elements. You throw Shakespeare into it, but Shakespeare through the mouth of an annoying loser you really don't want to spend time with in this film. He's the clown in it, but the problem is this movie actually has a lot of clown characters, and he's just one of them. Every time he's on the screen, I don't know why I'm watching this movie, sadly. So far we have the Italian crime lords that are not interesting, we have the children that I really don't want to watch, and we have the British hobo. Are there other bad elements to this movie? Yes, there are. Or rather, the detective lady is just boring. She's playing this woman trying to track down Frank Castle and to arrest him and try to understand his point. So she's the virtuous cop, and he's, of course, the not so virtuous cop who took law into his own hands. The problem is, she's playing the same role as the African-American police officer, as both of them are Justice. The difference is, African-American is the old Justice who knows Frank Castle, and she's the new Justice getting to know Frank Castle. But really, we didn't need her, we only needed one of them. And that's very obvious, since we're giving maybe 3 or 4 scenes with her, and after the 1 hour mark, she's not in the movie anymore. Although the African-American cop shows up. Because he has to be the voice of reason. He has to be the one trying to reach Frank Castle, fearing maybe if Frank Castle encountered police officers that he doesn't recognize, maybe Frank Castle wouldn't be as lenient on them as he is on him. So she's redundant. What about the African-American police officer? Well, he plays the role of this no-nonsense, stereotypical African-American older police officer. We've seen them plenty of times. He's okay, but his acting is not the best. He has some scenes where he kind of works, but overall, none of the acting here is good. So that leads me back to actually, why should you watch this movie? What are the good, bad elements? So aside from the times where the acting, especially Dolph Lundgren's acting, is entertaining, we have good action. We have quite a few scenes where there is a lot of shooting, a lot of knife throwing, a lot of jumping through walls or through windows, fighting with swords, with bare hands. We have people being poisoned, people being shot left and right. We have people. At one point, Dolph Lundgren shoots a crossbow bolt into a chest of a guy, impaling him, making him stick to this van behind him, and then uses it as a cable to wire down and continue shooting. We have people just left and right having things thrown in their face, killing them. All that is cool. The action in this works very well. Some of the scenes are not as well, but the last 20 minutes are more or less just non-stop action. of course, different aspects of action. Some of it are more dual type action and some of it is more just shooting left and right. All of this is cool. It's just all this filler is unnecessary. And it has, some of the action is so stupid that I love it. It has, at one point, for more than a minute, Frank Castle is shooting up slot machines and a bar. It's just him. 1 minute just shooting these slot machines and we see them blow up in slow motion. I love that.
I love it.
It's so unnecessary and I love it.
And if you don't think it works, folks, you're wrong.
So it has me cheering and loving and yelling throughout maybe 20% of the movie, 30% if I'm being generous, and the rest of it just sucks. Some of it is bearable, but every time the British guy shows up, most of the time the children on screen, I really hate it. I really don't want to watch the movie at that time. I really regret putting it on, but then we see those scenes that are really entertaining. So that's why this is a very good example of a good bad movie. Should you watch it? Should you put it on for movie night? I think if you like bad movies, there are so many more movies that are better good bad movies. I will put some of them on the screen, but I think this is a true to concept good bad movie because a lot of the bad good films, everything is terrible about them, even the action scenes. Whereas The Punisher actually has good action, so that's why it's the good aspect is genuinely good. It's not so bad it's good. And that is why, bottom line, The Punisher 1989 is a perfect example of a good bad movie.
Get the fuck out of here! No, I cannot. It's serious because it's very important, please.
A movie with elements that you really just want to skip, elements that make you not want to watch it again, elements that make you think you just watched a bad movie once it's done. But it also has so many elements that are worth rewatching time after time. That's my opinion, at least. I've seen this with some people who really didn't like it as much as I did. And I also changed my opinion on it multiple times. As I said, it was actually only after the third time I watched it where I started appreciating it more. Maybe I was in a different mood. Anyway, that's all for me. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope this was somewhat insightful. This pseudo-analytic, bare minimum analysis, unscripted talk about a B-movie, B-Marvel movie from the late 80s. I hope you found that at least not a waste of your time. Bye-bye.